And you don't know who sent us this?
Nope. Although I have my suspicions.
Ich hatte zwischendurch eine Anfrage für so ein Machinima-Projekt, wo so die Leute mit der Myst Online Engine ein Drehbuch geschrieben haben und machen damit einen Film, lassen die Leute dann so laufen, wo sie hin sollen. Und da musste ich zu den Szenen Musik komponieren. Und da ist dann halt die Herausforderung, das auf die Szene genau abzustimmen. Kann ich mir die Arbeit von den Leuten vorstellen. Die sitzen da, müssen sich auf die Szenen einspielen. Dann musst du das auch mit dem Timing hinkriegen, weil wenn die Szene im Kasten ist, ist sie im Kasten. Aber das gibt natürlich auch mega Erfahrung.
Joanne?
Isn't that...
The guy from the pub?
So, you started making music on an Atari?
Yes, and then I moved to Amiga. And then finally to a PC.
And how did you meet Frank?
Frank?
Frank Sovelberg, who created Mistytech with me.
Before your time, Alan, he used to voice Alex and still serves as science consultant and tech support.
He had to give up voice work when all his equipment was destroyed in that terrible Rhineland flood.
But before that, he found Chris for us.
I remember. A friend was streaming classic video games online and Frank and I were talking in the chat. They played some of my remixes. Sometime later, Frank wrote an email and asked me if I would like to write some music for this series he was making. I said, yes, I can try it. He sent me a link with some scenes and I wrote a piece of music. But now we have so much music. If Frank had let me know how many tracks I would write, I would have said no, it's too much work. Please choose someone else. Too much for me.
I can remember your reaction when I came back for more music and told you that you were our composer.
That was when I built my panic room.
Frank used to translate when we first started working with Chris.
Until one time he wasn't available.
Google Translate.
Reporting for duty.
That's right. I remember asking for a German translator on the forum.
As Nora seems to follow everyone who contributes into the cast, I imagine.
Captain Turner reporting for duty.
Ich habe gehört, du wurdest befördert. Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Danke. Aber hast du nicht auch eine Rolle?
Andy Severide, reporting for duty.
I think the first piece of music you wrote for us was for the video we made to recruit more talent to the project.
Like David.
Yes, David Wistron, who voices Zarek.
And me.
Polomalu.
How about a glass of your finest, Daphne?
I'm not on bar duty. Sorry.
That pitch brought in several talented people.
Too many of whom have now sadly left the project.
Because of my music?
No.
Is it true that you were in construction when you started with us?
That's still, what do you call it?
Your day job?
Richtig.
What software is that?
FL Studio, right?
Hello, Terry. Yes, FL Studio. What do you use?
Digital Performer.
Wait a second.
Are you a composer?
Look.
Sarek?
Morgan, the thing in the egg.
It's a barrel.
Terry?
Sorry, I was just remembering a piece of music that I wrote for The Lost Art.
Episode 10, wasn't it?
I think so. It was the moment that the alien in the egg was revealed to be the Queen of the Burrow.
The bubble.
Tiara is so stressed by her imminent sacrifice, she somehow conjures an hallucinatory bubble between herself and Alex.
This is the first time Alex sees her as human, though.
Wasn't that the first thing you did for the Lost Art?
Well, I'd been operating an avatar for some time.
I think I mentioned Terry was a composer?
That's right. You knew him from the Nope Dancers.
Actually, having seen you and said so many times, now I'm surprised you haven't joined Nulp.
But Clady, Lou, and I had to type with a German accent to get in.
Yeah. Does the setting of the scene affect your music?
With me, it is usually the story that drives it rather than the setting. But in some cases, the setting is part of the story, especially dramatic moments like the reveal of the red sun or the earthquake that killed 2 of the characters. That piece is definitely one of my favorites.
So, do you start with the video or the characters?
Well, first I start with the timing of events, the length of time an event lasts. But in this instance, the music started at the climax of episode 15, and then it had to extend over the credits.
Which keeps the viewer in the mood.
Very important in this particular episode.
Ground control to Major Lou.
Sorry, I was just remembering. One of your pieces of music inspired an idea I had for the Returned.
It did? Why didn't we use it?
Because Max wrote the entire soundtrack.
But it still inspired the idea.
I can't recall. Have you written any music for a scene with your character in it?
You mean Simon Felger?
I actually started writing music for the show before I was cast as Felger.
I think Terry joined as an avatar operator shortly after I did.
You mentioned Misty Tech at an Nulp rehearsal.
At that point, we had no idea you were a composer.
He was hiding in plain sight.
To get back to your question, I wrote music for a scene that Simon was in for episode 15.
Very foreboding. When we were in the pub, you said you used different software than Chris.
He uses FL Studio, and I use Digital Performer. Here I am adding markers for the beginning and ending of the scenes that need music. And here I am adding a name to the marker so I know what it refers to.
What we did as a team was point out all the places where we wanted music.
You mean a spotting session?
Yes, as I just showed you, I marked the start and finish of where the music will go in my software.
That sounds tricky.
Actually, that's the easy part. Then I watch the clips over and over again to get ideas of what the music will sound like. Then I come up with several ideas and hate them all.
But you've given us such great music.
Well, eventually.
So do the rejects end up in the blooper reel?
No, they find their way to the ends of the deep dark web, never to be heard again.
This is where I met Sven back in 2010. It took us 6 months to film our Let's Play.
That was when you decided to make a movie in Denny?
And all these years later, here we are.
Aren't you going to answer that?
It's not a call. It's a reminder that we're supposed to be meeting Cesare and Pierre-Andre.
Did you not say we should meet here?
Yep.
What is that music?
It's from Max's game. The track is called I Will Never Forget, which seems appropriate for a calendar alert.
It's beautiful. Do you think he will do the music for this project? Max, I mean.
That's the plan. Where are they?
Hey!
Oops.
He asked to see the set.
He?
Turn around.
What is he doing?
Being inspired?
Are we pretending that we haven't already made this video?
So it would seem.
C'était la cérémonie de la marque.
When you gave me the idea for this video, I thought your voices could be instruments in the soundtrack, which is partly why I wanted you to be speaking in French.
I think The Return is unique in that way, among videos I mean.
Max and I talk a lot about the creative imagination and the power of vision.
Mon art est mon signe.
Proprio così.
Well, I've learned throughout my life that it is very hard to convey the experience of vision without people thinking you are a bit strange.
But I think we do it well in the Lost Art.
Le temps passé à bord du vaisseau a nourri ma clairvoyance.
By this time in The Return, the visual becomes abstract, and it seems to me that the music becomes a character.
You know, by the time Max came to do the soundtrack for The Good Red One, he was already playing Henry. And because we had established Pierre-Andre as Champ in The Returned, we were able to give him a voice in Henry's flashback.
I feel a strange sadness inside you.
I'm sorry, I never really knew you.
But I knew you.
I like the use of reverb in that memory. Oh.
That is almost unbearably poignant. Endings and beginnings.
What do you mean?
Henry thought his time with the team was ending, but the music suggests a hopeful new start.
You know, I once asked Max how his experience of working on the script of The Good Red One compared to writing the music.
And?
He said that co-writing the dialogue was like entering the story to influence it, whereas writing the music was like embracing the story.
Chris said something in that German interview about composing for The Lost Art.
I think I know the bit you mean. How it gave him the sense of what it is like to be a music producer in a film studio?
Well, we're trying to put it all together with the editing team.
Cesare?
Guess it's time for the grand finale.